All right, today we are going to crack open the ultimate accounting system for our planet's atmosphere. Think of it as a massive annual report card that tracks every single ton of carbon dioxide we add and, more importantly, where it all goes. So, let me ask you this. What if planet Earth had to publish an annual financial statement? A ledger that meticulously tracks all the income and all the expenses. What would that even look like? Well, as it turns out, we don't really have to imagine, because scientists from all over the globe collaborate to produce exactly that. It's called the Global Carbon Budget. And this is our guide. It's the planetary ledger for 2024, and it shows every major carbon transaction. So let's break it down, just like any good accountant would. And, with any budget, you have to start by looking at the debits, the expenses. In this case, that means all the carbon dioxide we as a species are adding to the system. And here it is, the top line number for our total expenses in 2024. A truly staggering 42.4 billion tons of CO2. That is the total debit we posted to the planet's atmospheric account. So the big question is, where does that massive number actually come from? Well, that debit comes from two main sources. The overwhelming majority, we're talking 37.8 billion tons, comes from burning fossil fuels and from industrial processes. The other 4.6 billion tons comes from land use change, which is mostly a fancy term for deforestation. So it's pretty clear where our biggest expense lies. Okay, so that's what we're putting in, but the planet isn't just a passive container, right? It's actively working to clean things up. So what can the Earth naturally take out of the atmosphere? Let's go ahead and check the credit side of the ledger. In 2024, the Earth's natural systems, which scientists call sinks, managed to absorb 19.5 billion tons of CO2. You can think of this as the planet's income, or maybe its credit line. It's the natural service the Earth provides that kind of buffers our impact. And this is where that credit comes from. The planet has two massive natural sponges. The oceans are the bigger of the two, absorbing 12.4 billion tons by just dissolving CO2 right at the surface. And then you have the land sink, all the forests, plants, and soils, which took in another 7.1 billion tons through photosynthesis. So, let's recap. We have our debits, 42.4 billion tons going out, and we have our credits, 19.5 billion tons coming in. Now comes the moment that every accountant lives for. It's time to do the math and see if the books actually balance. And this is where the accounting gets really interesting. We know the destinations for all that carbon, 19.5 billion tons went into the natural sinks, and scientists were able to measure that the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere grew by another 29 billion tons. But wait a minute, if you add those two up, you get 48.5 billion tons accounted for, but we only emitted 42.4 billion. That doesn't add up. It creates a gap in our ledger. That gap has a name. It's called the budget imbalance. Now, this is not some mysterious new source of pollution. It's actually the opposite. It's a testament to scientific honesty. It represents the margin of error in measuring these gigantic, complex global systems. It's how scientists keep the ledger honest about what they can and can't measure with perfect precision. Okay, now that we've accounted for all the debits, all the credits, and even the uncertainties, we can finally get to the bottom line, the single most critical number on this entire planetary statement. After all of that accounting, what's the net profit, or, well, in this case, the net loss for the planet in 2024? What is the one number that truly defines our impact for the year? Here it is, 29.0 billion tons of CO2. This is the atmospheric CO2 growth rate. You can think of it as our net annual damage. It's the amount of CO2 we pumped into the atmosphere that the planet just could not absorb. It's the leftover debt that gets added to our global balance sheet, year after year after year. This quote from the source material really says it all. This isn't just a number on a chart, it's a physical reality. It is the precise amount of pollution that we produced beyond what Earth's natural systems could handle. It's the surplus that has nowhere else to go but to just pile up in the atmosphere. And why does that surplus matter so much? Well, because that 29 billion tons added this year joins the surplus from last year and the year before that. And all together, it acts like an ever-thickening blanket wrapped around our planet, trapping more and more heat and directly driving the warming of our global climate.
So this really brings us to the final and most critical question. The science is crystal clear. As long as this net damage number is greater than 0, our planet is going to continue to warm. The entire challenge of solving climate change, then, really just boils down to this one single accounting problem. How do we bring this planetary ledger back into balance and get that final number all the way down to 0?